So we're going to go over three basic things. One, I'm going to talk about the HUD baseline standards. Most of you probably know these standards already, and so I'm going to go over them quickly. But what I did was I distilled the standards down from the HUD regulations. There are baseline standards, and then there are additional safeguards that are optional. Because I wanted everyone to certainly be focusing on what the mandated standards are. I took out all the optional standards, distilled it down to a 4-page document, and I'll be sharing that with you. Then we'll go through the contract exhibit G, which is the primary reason for going through this. And I want to show you some, how most of the stuff on there you're probably already doing. I want to briefly discuss the issue of cyber liability insurance, which has come up a number of times with some vendors asking questions about it. And then I'll open it up to questions for you. So let's first start with the baseline standards. I'm going to stop sharing here. Let me do this. Escape, and let me go over to the baseline standards. I sent you this document a little bit ago, and essentially this is right out of the Federal Register. And you'll see on the screen here, like I say, I sent you all an email with this document on it. And what I did was I distilled it again down to these 4 pages. When you open it, there's going to be this number 5 technical standards, but those are really this last 2 pages are all about the HMIS system itself, and that's more about things that the software company and Daniel Overbury Howland concern themselves with. You would be less so concerned with them, but in here, basically, it's broken out into 2 sections. There's a section on privacy and a section on security. I want to talk about the privacy side. And what I've done was I highlighted those sections that I think I want to call your attention to. And as you're looking it over, if you focus on those, I think you'll get them. You'll really understand what's most important about this. I'm not saying ignore the rest of it, but with limited time, at least you know what is important. Let me pull up my PowerPoint again, and here's some of the things that that I wanted you to know. One is that you are a covered homeless organization, CHO, if you record, use, or process PPI using an HMIS. That's one of those highlighted standards there. And I believe everybody in all the contractors here qualify as a CHO. The requirements also extend to other systems, including paper, if the data that's from HMIS is also stored on computers themselves, in servers, in the cloud. And that's an important concept, because we're going to talk about ensuring that your overall IT profile is secure. And then a couple of other things that are in there that many of you may know, but I just want to point out. For example, a CHO must post a sign stating the availability of its privacy notices to any individual who requests a copy. And I'm going to, because I'm really HIPAA-based and not as fluent in HUD regulations, I'm going to ask Adam, when they talk about this, the privacy notice, do you know if they're talking about the NPP, or are they talking about the policy itself?
It's a poster. It's available for download on our website. Effectively, it's informing a potential client or program participant that comes into an office and begins the work, and we notify and say that you have rights to your information. This is our privacy notice. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments about the data that we're collecting for you for HMIS. So that is that privacy notice. And it's just, we have a poster at intake stations in our offices where they're doing intakes for HMIS data collection.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate that that clarification. I thought that was the case, but I just wasn't certain. And then two other things that I noted that are very similar to HIPAA, and that's one is the CHO must allow an individual to inspect and have a copy of any PPI about the individual, and you must consider any request for correction of PPI pertaining to the individual. One of the things that I would recommend is that if a request for corrected PPI is turned down, be sure you document the reason for that. If it's ever audited, you'll want that documentation in place. And just for reference, let me go back. Yeah, all of those elements are things that I highlighted here in the privacy section of it. The next thing I wanted to just talk about, and again, you're probably very familiar with this, but just a reminder, a recap of permitted uses and disclosures of PPI that's in the system. The first one is pretty simple, and it's very similar to HIPAA. You can use the information without an authorization for service provision, for payment, and for operations, essentially. And that's the equivalent of treatment payments and operations in HIPAA. But then they go on to talk about additional uses. And I wanted to, in case it wasn't clear, they talk about additional uses such as uses required by law. So that may be uses such as mandated reporting, right? Or to comply with court order. Uses about victims of abuse, neglect, or domestic violence, that may or may not be a mandated report, but you are permitted to use it for that purpose. But one of the things I noted in there was that if you do disclose information about a victim, you have to notify the client. That's one of the regulations in there. Uses for academic research. Some of you may do this on a regular basis. If you understand this and you work with your attorney, your legal counsel on it, no problem. But it's a complex topic, and if you are going to do publication or if you are going to do any research, my recommendation is contact us or contact your attorney, because there are some very strict regulations on any human research. And then the last one is uses and disclosure for law enforcement. I thought this was interesting because all of these are permitted uses, but then they talk and they say that you must use a balancing test to determine whether the disclosure transcends the privacy right of the client. And that word transcend is right out of the regulation. But then, for a subpoena or a court order, it's really a mandated use required by law, right? Or a disclosure required by law. But you may use the information for assisting law enforcement to locate a suspect, fugitive, material witness, or missing person. You may also use it to report a crime on your premises, right? And then the last thing is there's a kind of obscure section in there that a supervisory law enforcement official, and that's the term of art they use in the regulation, may make a reasonable request. You are not required to comply with that request. You may, again, if it meets the balancing test. So I just wanted to talk about those things. Other than those disclosures, though, that are listed in the regulation, any other disclosure or use of the information must be done with the client's authorization. And as you all know, you do have an ROI, or a release of information authorization to disclose healthcare information for that. So those are the only things I really wanted to talk about on the privacy side. The next topic was security, and that's really what we're here for, is I want to review our contract exhibit G, and I needed a place to put our contact information. So since I only had one bullet on this page, I decided to put it right here. So this is how to get a hold of us in case you have any questions. So let's move over to the, sorry. Contract Exhibit G. And is anyone here not familiar with what I'm talking about, this contract exhibit? Gotcha. Okay, Ted, and Ted, yeah, thanks for raising your hand there. I don't see anyone else that, although I only have one screen out of 3 showing, so I apologize. So this is something new. Although it isn't really different than anything you've already been exposed to. This has been added to your contracts, all the NOFA contracts this year, and basically it articulates a little bit more clearly the privacy and security requirements that are required by HUD and also by the county. And so a lot of you are seeing it for the first time. It's got a lot of language in there that's boilerplate and a little bit legalese, but I wanted to demystify some of it because it isn't as complex as you might think. So let's talk that through. It's about let's see, it's 9 pages long, but a number of pages are really very boilerplate. They again have recitals and definitions. Most of them you all understand already, and even in the boilerplate language, the recitals, it says, the terms used in the exhibit shall have the same meaning as those referenced in the statute. Okay, we all get that, right? Where it really starts getting actionable is on page 3. And what I did, and I sent you this document, I tried to highlight the things that are really important to know. One is this clause right here. It talks about the contractor shall develop and maintain a written information privacy and security program that includes administrative, technical, and physical safeguards. If you are using the HMIS policies that include a security section and a privacy section, you're in compliance with this. So no problem. You are already there. If you don't use that document, if you don't comply with that, and Adam, I don't think there's anyone here that doesn't comply with that, do they? Yeah. So you're already good with that. However, we do have a model policy that if you want to go beyond that for all of your organization, beyond HMIS, I can provide that to you. Well, we do that for all of our HIPAA contractors as well. Then we have general privacy controls, which just says, do what the regulations say, right? That's this section 2. And then we get into security controls. Let's talk about that. So basically, contractor and subcontractors shall take necessary steps to ensure continuous security of all computerized data. As we know, we are in a whole new world of cyber attacks and cyber threats. And the original HUD regulations were written in 2004, and they probably say things. They say things like, send a code to your BlackBerry, right? They're really outdated. These are much more contemporary, and they're based on HIPAA standards, which, if you read the preamble to the HUD standards, they are based primarily on HIPAA standards as well. So one of the things that I wanted to highlight just is that's the whole reason for this, is just to protect your information. I put this one section in red, not that I expect you to understand this at all, but if you are working with techie folks that say, hey, you're using a lot of terms here, but we don't have standards, this is the standard you can provide to them. This language in red, and they'll understand what it means. For most of you, you don't need to know this standard. Your tech people will know it for you. Okay. Then Then I go into some of the specific controls. One of them is um, including patches, fixes, and updates to your operating systems. You have to have those in place. If your systems aren't patched and your operating systems aren't up to date, your system is vulnerable to attack, much more vulnerable to attack. By the way, I'm going to explain a little later how to help do that. Okay. Then we go into personnel controls, employee training. Adam already administers this training. Adam Sickenthaler already administers this training to your staff. He keeps the records on that, and there's nothing. I don't know, Adam. Is there anything additional they need to do other than notifying you as staff has changed?
No.
No? Good. And then employee discipline is in there, but that's already where I have a red font here, and I put something like a page number. That's referring to the page number in the HMIS policy manual. So you can refer over to it. The reason I put that in there is just to show this isn't an additional requirement. This is simply articulating what's already in the manual and putting it into the contract. Confidentiality statement, again, Daniel's team, the HMIS user agreement satisfies this requirement, and Daniel maintains those. I'm sorry, Adam maintains those. My apologies. Background check. All staff accessing the system need to have been background checked. That's also in the policy on page 24. System security review. This is an interesting one. If you don't, system vulnerability is based on risk. And if you don't understand the risks in your IT system environment, you really don't have any idea of whether there's a malicious actor in there and how vulnerable you are. I'm going to explain to you basically how to mitigate that using a third-party contractor, and they can provide you with that system review. But if you don't have a third-party contractor, you should be doing a regular system review of all of your computers and your servers and anything else you're using to work with your HMIS data, right? Number 7 just basically says anything that's in here, if you have a subcontractor, you have to impose that on them. Designation of an individual responsible for privacy and security. As a HIPAA officer, I can tell you we do regular audits on our subcontractors. And one of the things that I find is that a number of them simply dub someone as the HIPAA specialist with 1 hour of training. And really that's a very high risk way of approaching it. Your privacy officer should understand this information and understand how to keep your system safe. You should have a security officer or someone responsible for security as well. Again, if you have a third-party IT contractor, they can do that. They can act as your security officer. They can also act as your privacy officer, although I do recommend that someone internal to your organization is your privacy officer. But the one thing I can say is that taking a 1 hour course is not going to make someone a privacy officer and is not going to keep your system safe. My recommendation, if you think that you need additional training for your privacy officer, reach out to me and I can make some recommendations on some training that may be available. Okay. Number 10, we talked about privacy and security audits. Sounds daunting. Sorry. It sounds daunting. However, it isn't. Is there someone, Sonia, do you have someone that could be muted? No. Okay, no worries. Really, they aren't. They aren't audits in as much as they are system reviews. And our goal is to help you to improve your privacy and security profile. We do on the HIPAA side, we do a lot of technical assistance with our subcontractors, and there are a number of people on this call, as a matter of fact, that have been through a HIPAA review with us, and they know our goal is not to try and have a gotcha or anything like that. Our goal with our audits is to try and help you to get to compliance and be safe. And then, so those are some of the personnel controls. Then the data security requirements. Now, some of these are going to feel a little bit daunting, but if you have a IT third-party contractor that's helping maintain your laptops, your servers, any of your systems, they can do all of this. One of the things that you want is workstation laptop encryption. If your laptops or workstations are not encrypted and they get stolen, it is all automatically an incident that has to be considered a possible breach. I can tell you that while people say, "Oh, we don't keep any PHI or I'm sorry, protected information on our laptops or our desktops," just go into your downloads on any on any computer and start looking, and you'll find people will think that they're downloading something. Go, I don't know where this is going, and it's going into their downloads, and they'll be sitting there. My apologies. And so with encryption, if your laptops or desktops get stolen or lost, they're basically they're paperweights. That's it. But if they're not encrypted, now you have a problem because you don't even know what data you've lost. And again, I get told at audits, we go in, we're told all the time that, oh, there's no protected information on our desktops. And Sonia's been there. We type in downloads and we go right there. We show them all the PA protected information that's in there. Please get your systems, your equipment encrypted. The other thing is every device should have antivirus software, should have firewall, and should have firewall and antivirus software, and patches should be regularly applied to any servers that you have, and updates applied to any computers that you have. So if you have people who leave their computers on extended periods of time, have them restart them on the network. Or if they're not connected to a network where they're going to get updates, you need to make sure that laptops and servers are patched. Data destruction, basically that's just saying make sure that if you get rid of a laptop, or you get rid of even a photocopier, by the way. Nowadays, photocopiers have memory in them, and so it keeps copies of the images that you put in there. Make sure that that data is destroyed before you destroy any of the equipment. System timeout. This is one that, again, 15 minutes is the standard, and we go. Oh, I'm sorry. 20 minutes on HMIS. My apologies. I want to be consistent. Adam, I think that's consistent with the policy also, right? The 20-minute standard for timeout.
Yes.
Yeah. So no more than 20 minutes. Again, Sonia and I go into do audits, and we consistently find laptops or workstations that don't that have no timeout, or they're far longer than the maximum standard. Remember, you can always go less, but always enforce that there's no more than 20 minutes. Access controls. One of the things about this, so it says the system providing access to county PHI It should just be PII. Must be use role-based access controls for all user authentication. Now, this isn't really about the HMIS system because we already got that in place on the HMIS system, got that and I believe multi-factor authentication. This is for your other systems. If you have servers, if you have access to like Active Directory and so on, you need to make sure that your people are their access is controlled. People aren't sharing passwords, that they are password protected, and so on, and that they all have multi-factor authentication on them. And then, and again, that's just standard for the industry. Transmission encryption. This is for outgoing transmissions, generally emails going out. Information sent that is highly sensitive should be encrypted on its way out. It could be encrypted in a document that is password protected in the email, or the email itself can be password, or it can be encrypted. And then the last one is intrusion detection. Your systems should be able to identify or a third party should be able to identify if there's an intrusion into your system. Those are, like I say, they feel daunting, but the good news is that virtually every single piece of one of these things can be managed by a third party contractor. Now, many of you are already on their IT contractor. Many of you are already on with a third-party contractor. I know that there are a number of people on this call that have asked me, are there good third-party IT contractors that are available? If you know of, or if you have a good third-party IT contractor and you'd like to share their information, their contact information with others, if you could put that into the chat, I'd be grateful, so that others might be able to use that, because I know that some people, you know, it's a board member or a brother-in-law, that's really good with computers, that's maintaining their systems, but they just don't have the resources, honestly, generally, to do what's really necessary these days to protect your systems. Okay. And then, in the exhibit, the next section is paper document controls. I'm not going to go into detail on this, mostly because of time. But I generally, when we go in to do audits, we find that people are really good with paper. They watch the paper very well. Just make sure that paper documents in transit is probably the place that they're most vulnerable, and make sure that they're locked up. That they're in either some kind of satchel or something like that. It can't get stolen. And then the last piece of the document, the exhibit, is about breaches. And I don't even need to go into this heavily, but what I want to say is, if you have a breach or if you have an incident, call us. We'll walk you through it. And I can tell you, there are a number of people on this call who have worked with us on these things, and we've helped them through. One thing that I would say to you when it comes to a security incident or a breach is that time is of the essence. If you act fast when something goes wrong, even something as simple as I sent this information to the wrong recipient, getting on the phone right away, calling that person, asking them not to open the document, and deleting it could prevent a reportable breach, and that's really important. So, but the bottom line is, if you have a problem, get a hold of us. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about this more on the cybersecurity side, but that's pretty much it for our document here, okay, for the exhibit. Most of the stuff you're doing, some of you are probably a little bit, or need some work on the data security requirements side, right? And again, I think that a third-party contractor can help you a great deal if you don't have one already. And if you do have one, share this with them and ask how you can how they can help you get there. Okay. Uh, Let me go back to my presentation. One of the additional privacy and security things. One, with regards to policy, I think I had already said CHO may use the COC policy. However, you may want to consider additional policy to protect all of your systems. So if you want generic a generic privacy and security policy that you can adopt for your entire organization beyond just HMIS. We have a model policy that we can share with you, and you can tweak and adopt as you feel appropriate. Work with your legal counsel on what you would want to do there. Training, again, Adam works with your team to do training, but not all your team is getting trained. Only those people who are on HMIS. Isn't that's correct, Adam? Correct, right? Yeah. Only the people that are on HMIS. I talk about this all the time. While we're in health services, we have lots of training, both privacy and security training that we do to help keep our systems safe. But the county also trains people over in Parks and Rec. And you think, wow, what kind of information does Parks and Rec have that would be vulnerable? And the short answer is malicious actors can get into systems through other means, through places like Parks and Recs, and then toggle once they're inside over to our system. So, we can put a big firewall around DHS, but if Parks and Rec isn't being safe, we're not safe. Same with your team. You can put all these safeguards around just your HMIS system and the people who work on that. But if the rest of your team isn't being safe, your information's vulnerable. Your systems are vulnerable to either ransomware or other forms of attack. And so I strongly recommend having security training, IT security training for all your staff. Confidentiality agreements. If you do training for the rest of your staff, include a confidentiality agreement with them as well. And we can give you a model version of one if you're interested. Privacy system security review. Remember, you should always have your system reviewed once every 2 years at a minimum. Your IT management contractor, again, can provide this to you. And then we talked about it, privacy and security designees should be trained. We'll be conducting desk audits this fall, and then doing some site audits later on. But this fall, we're just going to be asking for some documentation and some information to get a baseline from all of you. Again, it's not trying to get into your business or to try and be punitive or overly compliant, and we just want to help you make sure that you're blocking and tackling, right? And then last thing, if you have a breach or security incident, call us. So and then again, I sent you this information. You can feel free to give this to your third-party IT manager, but hardware controls. They can put hardware controls on your computers. They can install locate, lock, and wipe software on some of your laptops, so that if a laptop's lost, they can figure out where it is, or they can lock it, or they can wipe it. Right? I didn't highlight it because it's not a requirement, but make sure that they put full disk encryption on your systems, right? They need to have antivirus software and firewall on them, and possibly intrusion detection. Although that's an active thing, and that could get expensive, so I didn't highlight that in red and say, hey, that's a mandated thing. It's a recommended one. Timely patches. Mandated. You got to be doing your patches. You got to be doing your update. System timeout. You just get it done. I didn't make it red because it's not one of the highest priorities, but you really should have system timeout on all your computers. Access control and multi-factor authentication. That's the big one. That is going to save you from phishing attacks. please be sure you have that on your systems. And then again, the system security review. Just make sure that if they find something, that you're actively mitigating that risk, that you're looking at that. That's any audit that you do. Let's see, and that's my last slide. I'm going to talk one more, probably 2 or 3 more minutes about cybersecurity. Oh, so there was a request. If anyone has also a recommendation on cybersecurity firms that could your other CHOs might be able to use, if you could put those recommendations in the chat as well, it would be very helpful, because some of the contractors are struggling to find good cybersecurity companies. And especially if you have an affordable one, that would be great. I know y'all are generally working on tight budgets. So with that, I know that this cybersecurity issue is a new issue for this year's contracts. It isn't a DHS issue. This is a countywide risk issue. All the contractors in the county are now being required to have that, because of the significant uptick in cyber events that we're seeing, not cyber attacks on us that we've been able to thwart, and cyber successful attacks on other contractors that they have not been able to manage. So our risk management folks said we have to require cyber security insurance or cyber liability insurance on these contractors. Now, remember that your cyber liability insurance isn't just a matter of having someone who pays for the damage that's done if a cyber attack happens. I've been involved in a lot of with a lot of contractors that had cyber liability insurance. And what those companies do is they basically take the incident away from the contractor, and they say, we've got this. You go back to doing the business you do in homelessness, and we're gonna deal with this incident. They do all the notifications. They help with the mitigation of what happened at your site. In other words, if there was a technical problem or anything like that, they work with us closely. They know how to report these things. That's one of the benefits that you have, is that you just pick up the phone, you call them, and they handle it for you. Because there's nothing so scary as finding out you're in the middle of a ransomware attack or some kind of an attack and you don't know where to go. With the cyber liability folks, you just pick up the phone and they take it. And they move fast, believe me. They move really fast. So I want to, while I can't talk so much about the risk management issues there, I will say my experience has been very good. Everybody who has had cyber liability insurance and has experienced an incident with it has been incredibly thankful that they had it. So with that, I'm going to stop talking. I went over my time, and I kind of had a feeling I was going to, but I want to open it to questions. And first, I'll ask Sonia. Sonia, do we have anything in the chat that's pending?
No questions. Several people have put in kind of places that they are using Santa Rosa technology, from Juan, Vision Quest Information Solutions from Pam, so stuff like that. And then recording will be sent out. So if you do want it, please let me know directly or through the chat, and I can send it out to y'all.
Yeah, thank you all for the resource recommendations. This, I think, will be very helpful. And we'll start a list ourselves that we can also give to others as they have questions about this. So appreciate it.
Yeah, and then Ken, we also have someone that put that they use KnowBe4 for the security, which
yeah.
Go ahead and say it.
Yeah, KnowBe4 is a great
Yeah.
system for that. That's what we use at the county. What's great about what I like about KnowBe4 is it's not only useful to your employees to keep your system safe. in their personal life, they apply those same principles that they learned from KnowBe4, and it really helps in their personal life as well. So, but there are a lot of different companies that have good training like that, and that can help out. So, are there any questions? Just if you could just use the hand raise
So
feature.
we do have a question. Ken, someone asked if you can talk more about cybersecurity when using a cloud provider like Google.
Great question. So here's Google has a HIPAA compliant platform and a non-HIPAA compliant platform. Now, you guys aren't HIPAA, right? So technically, if you're using, I'm trying to remember, it's Google, it's like a Google business platform. If you're using that platform, you can use either side. The thing about using the HIPAA compliant version is that they will notify you if there is a breach of the information, whereas the non-HIPAA platform, they won't notify you. And I do not believe that it's materially more expensive. However, it is not required to have the HIPAA version in place. Same with Microsoft. If you're on Microsoft 365, even though you don't have to do this, they have a portal where you can simply go in and sign their BAA, their Business Associate Agreement, and it makes your Microsoft 365 edition HIPAA compliant, which means then they will notify you if there is a breach. One thing. Oh, yeah, Ted. You're on mute. It's up. It should be up in the upper right corner. Your mic, 2 over from the leave button at the very top of the screen. And I don't know that I can unmute you. I'm looking. I'm trying to see if I can.
I tried. You can't.
Yeah, I can't. Darn it. I can disable, but I can't unmute. Ted, if you want to put it into the chat, we can pick it up there.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, does anyone else? Ted, if you want to just email us, that's fine as well. We'd be happy to help you with that. Does anyone else have any questions or anything they'd like to share with the group that you think might be of help? Things that have made life easier for you in terms of complying with the cyber requirements of HUD. Yeah, Adrian.
So this all was very harsh and confusing and scary for me and our organization. We're small, and it was pretty much, a lot of it was new, although talking to Ken one-on-one made a huge difference for us. And I just want to pass on, he had said to us, I'm available and I will talk to you some more. And that also, that openness and support, I just want to pass it on to the rest of you, because, you know, it's so easy to be intimidated by somebody who's in an agency or, you know, not part of our little whatever social group. So just appreciating you a lot, Ken, and I imagine we'll be talking to you.
No, you're always welcome to it, and that is very sincere. We're here to help out. We provide a lot of technical assistance to our HIPAA contractors, and now that we're in the homelessness business, we are equally committed to helping y'all out. As a matter of fact, probably more so, because, you know, the healthcare folks, they've been doing this probably a lot long. I mean, the security stuff is kind of ingrained because HIPAA is so rigid, and so we're happy to help you if and especially if you're just at ground zero. You're going, okay, Ken, we really need we just don't have things in place, and we need to start from scratch. There's no judgment here. Trust me, we've taken contractors or helped contractors build systems that were just non-existent, and now they're fully compliant. And it wasn't that painful, nor was it that expensive. We've got lots of model forms, and of course, the homelessness team, Adam, you have a whole page of those model forms and so on. But we have other resources that we can share with you all. And we just are sincere that we want to help you. I see.
Kathleen Higgins. Kathleen, hi.
Yeah, hi, it's Kat.
Hi.
Kat Higgins at COTS. Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to share that, because we have CalAIM funding, we launched this a bit ago. And so we decided to really be proactive, and so we have quarterly audits with a company called Due North. And so they go in and they literally analyze us every few months at a point in time as to how effective our systems are and our infrastructure for security is. And so because of that cadence, we feel pretty confident that we're doing things well. And then we also catch when there might be, maybe there's a patch or a Microsoft update or something that didn't occur in that particular week. And so we can, stay on top of that and work with our Medicus, our, IT provider as a partnership for that. So just wanted to share that having that kind of quarterly eye and view from that outside party has been really helpful to keep on top of things.
Yeah, Kathleen, I really appreciate that thought, because big organizations like the county, we have what's called a SIM and a SOC, SIEM and a SOC. The SOC is basically, it's a security operations center, a third party that is constantly monitoring our systems, and they call us if they see anomalous or malicious behavior. You guys can't most of you can't afford that. And so even having those periodic audits are what tell you if someone's sitting in your system, because before malicious actors act, they're usually in your system for a while. I mean, they'll be in there 3-4 months before they actually start moving around to see if they can get away with whatever they need to do. Having these periodic audits, even if it's once a year by your IT manager, management company, is a huge risk reduction or risk mitigation in terms of the potential for either losing information or having your systems shut down and having to pay ransom. So good for you.
And just, I'm sorry, just one other thing too, I just want to say, and that was, we don't have a lot of additional funds for these sort of things. But we just pay like an annual fee, and then they're also there, for if we have any issues, we can, reach out to them as well. But we found that it's well worth it. And I don't remember the price point, but I just want to encourage, if you haven't already done this, to kind of maybe look into the cost of that, because we couldn't hire an additional person to do this, right? I'm HR and I'm also IT and security officer, et cetera, right? So, but having that additional party out there to go in and do those audits was well worth the funds, but it was not the same cost as hiring a whole nother human. So just wanted to encourage folks to research that, and it's doable. I mean, COTS is doing it, so obviously it's doable. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
Hi there. Is there any talk about the county offering a secure email system that we can all use to communicate with the county? And also, is there the possibility of using the claims portal that the ARPA transitions program is using, OpenGov, so that when claims are submitted, they too are submitted in a protected environment?
The first one, I don't know about a secure email system that could be extended to the contractors. I'll do some research on that. The claims, I'm going to ask the homelessness team here. Could SoCo Cloud act as a SFTP for a secure file transfer portal to drop the claims into and be picked up by our team? Because right now, Dave, are y'all are sending it via email? Is that what's going on?
The majority of our claims are sent via email to a variety of different staff members at the county, and this goes with homelessness services as well as MHSA, whatever the contract source is with the different offices that we send it to. The only communication that is secure at this point that's provided by the funder is, again, the ARPA transitions using open.gov portal, where the claims are submitted and then communications follow up are also done through that.
I may have to follow up with you, Dave, but that second piece feels like it's much more doable. It may take a little while to implement and get into place, but we have systems in place that I think we don't even have to implement something new. We just have to utilize what we have in a way that works for y'all and improves security. So I took a note. I may, like I say, reach out to you for a little bit more information. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, Ken.
Okay, thank you. What else do we have, Sonia? I thought I saw at least one other hand up.
No, it was just those three. Anybody else have any questions?
Okay, well, we're right up. We're getting close to the to time. Let me just finish up with a thank you very much again. You'll feel free to just reach out to us and ask us questions, and I'll work with Adam. One of the things that I want to make sure is that we're the privacy unit is fairly new in this space, and Adam is Adam and Daniel, I know you're old hats with this stuff. And so we're trying to make sure that whatever we're doing to help out isn't in conflict with what's existing now. I know Adam and I we're working on updating the privacy policy, I believe, in HMIS, or for the HMIS privacy policy. Was that what I saw come through the other day? My apologies.
Those are my training slides. So that
the training slides. Okay, but we'll be recommending some additional updates on some policy and so on as well. And so anyway, we'll be talking to you that. But yeah, if your team wants a one-on-one with our team over here, just like we did with Adrian's team, we're happy to sit down with you and talk through specifics. And then when you get the desk audit information, just like I say, we'll start establishing these relationships with y'all and trying to help you out to the extent that you may need help. Many of you guys, many of your teams are, you're already right there. I mean, I can tell. I think I saw Erica Chloe from Buckaloo, and we've been dealing with them for years, and we know that they're in a really good position. But other teams I haven't really had a chance to meet with, and we're going to help you. We're going to help you get to that same spot if you feel like you need that help. Okay. So with that, I will be sending you out. I'll send. I'm going to send the recording out to everyone on the invite list. That way I just know it's to everyone. And if you need anything else, just let us know. Okay. Thank you all so much. It's been a pleasure.